All right, welcome back. Hope you're all having a fantastic week as we get ready for Halloween. Today, we will continue our BCBA exam review, where I'm going through a full BCBA exam, question by question, and breaking down each question, how I think you should think about it when you take your exam. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. We're happy to have you. Please, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below or email me. I'm happy to help. Make sure you check out our 5th edition video. We have our first part of our task list study guide up, and that task list is also available for purchase. Check out the link in the comments and descriptions below. Part 2 is coming soon, as well as some practice exams available for purchase. So be on the lookout for those. Other than that, let's keep studying hard and get to our questions. So 61, a behavior analyst is contracted to work with an elementary school near her house. She is assigned 4 classrooms, 3rd grade and 4th grade. The 4th grade teacher tells her she has difficulty recording data when all her students are working on a project at once. What measurement procedure will be most effective at recording data on all students at once? All right, so a couple of things going on here, right? We know we're in a group setting, which isn't uncommon if you're a BCBA in a school setting, and we know we need to take data on all of the students at once, okay? So when we're trying to take data on every student all at once, that almost always immediately eliminates continuous recording. It's very difficult to take continuous data on multiple individuals or clients, right? Because that means we're trying to take every instance of behavior, okay, for every client. And as the number grows, that becomes more challenging, okay? So if we're looking for the most effective way to take data on most students at once, we can immediately eliminate something like B, which is rate, okay? Rate is continuous measurement. We're looking at something like a discontinuous measurement procedure, okay? So that leaves us with whole interval, partial interval, and play check. The question asks the most effective, right? The BCBA exam, you need to pick the best answer. They do a very good job on the exam of giving you 2 answers that look pretty good. They want the best answer. So if we have the most effective, okay, whole interval and partial interval, while discontinuous, okay, and while they can be used for groups, they still leave a lot of room for error, right? As that group grows, you have to spend a lot of energy, okay, making sure in something like a partial interval that nobody's getting off task, and in a whole interval, right, that everyone's staying on task the whole time. That becomes a lot of work. Play check, a planned activity check, right, is built for groups, right? It's the whole idea. It's a momentary time sampling procedure built for groups. At the end of an interval, you look up, whoever's engaging in the behavior, it's a response. Whoever isn't is a non-response or an incorrect, okay? Then you go back to doing what you're doing. Every interval, you check in, see who's doing it, see who isn't, okay? So the procedure most effective at recording data on all the students at once would be a play check or a planned activity check. That is our best answer. 62, based on the data from the graph below, what assumption can you begin to make? On the exam, you will be given graph questions. You'll be asked to interpret graphs, okay? Tell us about the graphs, interpret the data, okay? So it's important that you're familiar with your single subject design and your experimental designs. So if we look at this graph, always identify what kind of graph you're looking at. We see a what? Well, it's a multiple baseline, right? We have our baselines, we have our interventions, there's no withdrawal, and we have our change line, okay, as one baseline gets longer than the first one. So we know we have a multiple baseline design here. What assumption can we begin to make? A, no assumption yet. You need to withdraw the treatment at least once. This is why it's important that you know the details of all your designs. Do we withdraw treatment in multiple baseline? No, right? We extend the baseline across participants or settings, okay, but we don't withdraw treatment. A is out. Additionally, we can make an assumption, okay? So A is out for 2 reasons. B, based on the data, there is a possible functional relation with the intervention. What is a functional relation? A functional relation means we have control over the behavior. When we implement, okay, our variable or whatever we're controlling, okay, there's an effect on the behavior. We can see from our baseline, it's low, okay, our intervention starts, right, and that behavior increases. We go to baseline 2, it stays low. Same effect once intervention starts. you can start to assume there's some sort of functional relation going on. B is a good answer. Always read all of your answer choices. Even if you know A or B is the answer, find out why the other two are incorrect, okay? Especially when you're studying. If you understand why the wrong choices are wrong, that's going to give you more information about why the right answers are right, and it's going to make you better at the test. So B looks very good. Let's look at C. Baseline should have been conducted longer to draw any conclusions. The length of our baseline is fine. Plenty of data points. It's in a steady state, right? No issues there. And then D, there is an increasing trend in the second intervention. No, if anything, that trend is decreasing. So we have confirmed B is our answer. We know why A, C, and D are wrong, okay? And we know why B is our best answer. 63. If you were to demonstrate a shaping procedure to a new RBT who asked you for help, what would the procedure look like? All right, so not every question on the BCBA exam is going to be the hardest question ever created, right? You still need to know the basics, okay? So we dive very deep into behavior analysis as BCBAs and for our exam, but we always start with the basics. And the test is still going to test you on the basics like shaping. Shaping is a very simple procedure. It's something we know as BCBAs. RBTs have to know it, okay? Not like it's a complicated procedure, right? But we still need to know it. So what is shaping? Shaping is reinforcing approximations, successive approximations of behavior until we reach a final or terminal behavior, okay? So we know what we're looking for. That's what we're going to find to see what procedure it looks like. A, present a cookie to your client. Give them the cookie only when they say cookie. Is this shaping? Are we shaping any behavior? No, they already have the cookie saying behavior, okay? We're just trying to prompt it. This could be some sort of functional communication. We're not really sure, right? However, we know it's not shaping. B, provide your client with tokens for target behaviors. When your client reaches 6 tokens, have them exchange the tokens for a cookie. Looks like a token economy, right? We don't know what the behaviors are, okay? We're not shaping anything here. B is out. C, put a box of cookies where your client can see them. Hold out a note card that has cookie please written on it. Gradually fade out the words and the note card, okay? Again, looks like some sort of functional communication training, right? Where we're fading prompts out, but we're still not shaping anything. There's no approximations going on. That leaves us with D. Give your client a cookie whenever they make the C sound. As you progress, only give the cookie when the client's verbal attempts come closer to saying cookie. What do we have? We have a beginning of a behavior, we have a terminal behavior, and we have successive approximations, aka only give the cookie when the client's verbal attempts come closer to saying cookie. D is great, perfect for shaping, right? D is our answer. 64, Joanna conducts RBT training with the help of a pre-recorded videos. She will show the videos to the new RBTs and ask them to take data on behavior. For today's video, she asked the RBTs to record how long the client engages with his peer. All 3 RBTs record 30 seconds on their first attempt. On the second attempt, the RBTs once again recorded 30 seconds. The client actually engaged with the peer for only 10 seconds. The RBT's recording lacks what? All right, so we have our RBTs. They're practicing taking data on client engagement, okay? All 3 record 30 seconds on the first attempt. They're tracking the engagement because again, they once again record 30 seconds, okay? But the actual engagement was only 10 seconds. So every RBT, okay, incorrectly tracked the data. So are we lacking accuracy, validity, reliability, or treatment fidelity? Well, the RBTs aren't implementing anything here, right? There's no treatment going on, so we can eliminate D. It leaves us with accuracy, validity, or reliability. Is our data reliable? Well, yes. The first time we had 30 seconds, all 3. The second time, again, all 3. If left untrained, the RBTs will continue to reliably record 30 seconds, right? What about validity? Is our data valid? Are we recording the behavior we want to record? Yeah, by every, intent of what we see in the question, they are actually recording how long the client engages, okay? They're just not doing it accurately, right? Their data is inaccurate. Instead of 10 seconds, they record 30 seconds. Well, so while their data is valid and it's reliable, it is not accurate. The RBT's recording lacks accuracy. Accurate, valid, reliable, when you're doing these questions, especially during practice, break it down like that, okay? Identify why it is or isn't each one of those things, okay? So when you get to the exam, these questions become super, super easy, okay? But you gotta work at them. 65, Jake is trying to reduce how much he drinks while at weddings. He typically drinks 4 drinks per hour. Tomorrow, he plans to drink only 2 drinks per hour. If he succeeds in drinking only 2 drinks per hour, he will receive reinforcement. But if he drinks more than 2, he will receive no reinforcement. What type of intervention is this? Okay, so some sort of differential reinforcement question, right? Because we're reinforcing one behavior and not another, okay? So our question becomes, what type of DR intervention are we looking at? Our first two are DRA and DRI. What is the key component of a DRA and the key component of a DRI? We're teaching a replacement behavior. Are we trying to replace the behavior here? No, he's trying to go from 4 drinks to 2 drinks. So DRA and DRI are not applicable here, okay? What are we trying to do? We're trying to reduce the amount of drinks he has, right? So DRL and DRD are both effective at reducing behavior, okay? So what's the difference? Well, the difference is DRL is based on a time component, right? You set a time, and if that response occurs, if that response only occurs after specified, or if that time passes by, okay, after a specified time frame, and that behavior doesn't occur, then you reinforce, right? So let's say you would set Jake a time limit of 30 minutes, okay? If he doesn't drink within those 30 minutes, right, you reinforce him. Then you would slowly increase that time as you decrease the behavior. So DRL is dependent on a time frame, while DRD is dependent on a criteria, right? This is criteria based. Jake has to drink, okay, 2 or less to receive reinforcement, okay? With DRD, you slowly decrease that criteria, okay, until you get the appropriate amount of drinks, right? DRD might be used for someone who says, hello too often, right? Or raises their hand too much. It's not something we want to get rid of. We just want to reduce. So this intervention is a DRD. Again, DRL is based on a time component. DRD is criteria based. 66. Blake's parents went out of town, so he threw a massive party at their house. His friends ended up making a huge mess in the backyard that Blake wasn't able to clean up before his parents got back home. When his parents saw the mess, they made Blake clean up the backyard in addition to the rest of the house. This is best described as a what procedure? All right, so Blake got in trouble, threw a big party, backyard was wrecked. Parents come home, they need to punish him in some way, right? So what do? They make him clean up not only the backyard, but also the rest of the house. What is this considered? Is this positive practice over correction? Well, in positive practice over correction, we make the learner do the correct behavior over and over. It's not what Blake's parents did here. Negative practice is the opposite. They make Blake do the wrong behavior over and over. It's not like they made Blake trash the backyard over and over again, right? So positive practice and negative practice, okay, don't apply here, right? There's no behavior they're making him do over and over again. What they're making him do is a restitutional overcorrection, okay? They're making him repair and clean the environment and improve it to a better state than before, right? So not only does the backyard need to be spotless, the rest of the house now needs to be clean, okay? This is a restitutional overcorrection. It's not negative punishment, right? Because they're adding this punishment in, okay? They're adding it to the environment. This is best described as a restitutional overcorrection. In order to conduct an RBT competency assessment, one must what? Okay, you need to understand your responsibilities as a BCBA, and one of your responsibilities, if you work with RBTs, will be to do competency assessments. So if you want to conduct an RBT competency assessment, you must what? A, be a BCABA or BCBA. Absolutely, right? RBTs cannot conduct these themselves. You must be a BCABA or a BCBA. So A is the right answer, right? But what's our rule? Read all your answer choices. B, complete the 8-hour supervision training. You have to do that as well, right? In order to supervise, in order to complete a competency assessment, you have to complete that 8-hour training. So A and B are both correct. Let's see, complete the competency assessment themselves each year. That is not a requirement to conduct the competency assessment. BCBAs and BCABAs do not need to do that. Therefore, our answer is D, A and B. In order to conduct the competency assessment, we must be a BCABA or BCBA, and we must complete the 8-hour supervision training. 68, Dan, a BCBA, is working in a group home for adults. One of the residents of the group home wants to quit smoking. Dan gets together with his RBT and they design a couple of different treatment options. One treatment option does not utilize punishment, while one does. The client wants to use the treatment option that uses punishment because they believe it will be more effective. What is the best course of action to take? Okay, that's the cool conundrum here, right? We've got two equal interventions, okay? But the client wants to use the one with punishment. We know we're supposed to avoid punishment when possible. What takes precedent here? Okay, does the client's opinion matter? Let's see. A, use the punishment procedure, but be sure to include a reinforcement component as well. Yes, right? The client, okay, we know both interventions are going to be fine. We have both ready to go. The client prefers the one with punishment. That is totally fine, right? As long as we're also including that reinforcement component, we're not changing the intervention, it is totally fine and encouraged, and you should take into consideration the client's preference. If the client thinks this is going to be more effective at helping them quit smoking, we should try it out. Okay, so what about B? Use the punishment procedure by itself without any reinforcement component. No, you should always have another component to any punishment procedure. Remember, punishment procedures don't teach the appropriate behavior. Punishment is not permanent. We need some sort of reinforcement replacement behavior. Okay. C, deny the client's request. You should not use punishment when other options are available. Not necessarily true. Okay. Whenever we use punishment, there's always other options available, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean we shouldn't use punishment. And then D, deny the client's request. They do not have a say in treatment decisions. That is absolutely wrong, right? They always have a say. Clients should be part of their treatment planning. After all, they are the ones whose life you're dealing with. Okay, so since our client said he prefers one procedure over the other, we will try his procedure out. We will use the punishment procedure, but we will be sure to include that reinforcement component as well. 69, Logan is attempting to master out triangle with his client. His client needs to reach a criterion in order to do so. Based on the table below, when did the client meet criterion? All right, so this is clearly a trials to criterion data sheet, okay? We are working on whatever our response is, okay, whatever our skill is, and we're trying to master it by meeting criterion. So first thing we need to do is identify what is the criterion. Well, we see in our data sheet, the criterion has 2 correct responses, okay? So in order to meet criterion and trial to criterion, whatever your criterion is needs to occur in a row, right? So we need 2 correct responses in a row to meet our criterion. So we know plus is correct, we know minus is incorrect. Let's go to our data. Response 1, correct. Response 2, correct. Okay, 2 and done. Two responses, 2 correct responses. Our criterion is met. All you have to do is find trial 2, right? Criterion, good to go. Now, let's say our criterion was 4 correct responses, okay? Let's see, 1 correct, 2 correct, 3 incorrect, okay? We have to start over. We need 4 in a row. 4 incorrect, 5 correct, 6 incorrect. Have to start over. We need 4 in a row. 7 correct, 8 correct, 9 correct, 10 correct. If our criterion was 4, our target would have been hit on the 10th trial, okay? Again, pretty simple measurement question, right? All you're doing is interpreting data, okay? You're gonna have to do that a few times on the exam. As long as you're familiar with different types of data, you're gonna be just fine. And then finally, Alex is taking a standardized test, and Alex is taking standardized tests in kindergarten. He is required to complete every page in the test booklet and then wait for the 2-hour time limit to elapse before he is allowed to go outside and play. What type of schedule is Alex on? All right, the reinforcement schedule questions can get really tricky, right? because we have our basic reinforcement schedules plus our advanced reinforcement schedules, right? Or complex reinforcement schedules, okay? What is Alex on, okay? Alex has to do what? Well, he has to wait for some sort of time limit to elapse, okay? Plus, he has to engage, okay, in a certain number of responses, i.e. completing all these pages before he's allowed to go outside and play. Alex must satisfy 2 reinforcement schedules, okay, and ratio schedule and interval schedule in order to receive reinforcement. What type of schedule does that describe? Is that a tandem schedule? Well, a tandem schedule is like a chain schedule, right? Meaning our reinforcement schedules happen in a row in a certain order, okay? There's just no SD associated with it, right? However, there's no indication that these have to happen in a row. They just both have to happen, okay? So tandem schedule is not necessarily what we're looking for. What about a conjunctive schedule? A conjunctive schedule is when the reinforcement schedule requires that both a ratio and an interval schedule are met. So let's go back, okay? Ratio schedule, he has to complete all the questions, okay? He has to engage in enough responses to complete every page, and then he has to wait for an interval schedule to elapse. So we need both a ratio schedule and an interval schedule to occur. Conjunctive looks pretty good, right? Both of those have to happen. Find out why the other ones are wrong. Alternative schedule, well, alternative schedule is like a conjunctive schedule, except this is an either or. So either, okay, the ratio or the interval schedule has to occur, okay, or the ratio or the interval schedule has to occur, but not both, okay? So it's like a conjunctive schedule, right? But only one is going to happen, okay? So C is out. And then D, variable schedule. Variable schedule, of course, is just one of our basic reinforcement schedules, but there is more than that going on here, which makes it a complex schedule of reinforcement. Again, conjunctive schedule, a ratio, and an interval schedule have to happen before reinforcement occurs. Alex is on a conjunctive schedule. I would say the differential reinforcement questions are difficult. The measurement or the complex reinforcement schedule questions are difficult, okay? Make sure you understand those. You're going to get questions on those, okay? They will test you on that. All right, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. We will be back next week with 10 more questions. We also have this full exam available for purchase very soon. Be on the lookout for that. Check out our study guide, which is also for purchase, and we have our video up for free. Please, any questions or comments, leave those below or email me. I'd love to help. As always, keep studying hard, and I'll see you soon.